My name is Jake Miller, and I've always been the kind of person who takes life one step at a time. I work at a small tech company in San Diego. Every day feels like a routine, and sometimes, it's hard to find excitement in what I do. I have a dream of climbing the corporate ladder, but I often struggle to see the path ahead. Right now, I'm stuck in a frustrating situation. My boss keeps pushing me to close a deal that feels wrong to me. The numbers don't add up, and my gut tells me it's not the right choice. Every morning, I sit at my desk, staring at reports and spreadsheets. I feel the weight of worry settling on my shoulders. My colleagues seem to accept the deal without question, which makes me doubt my instincts. But deep down, I know that something isn't right. My mind races with uncertainty, and doubt creeps in. I wonder if I'm being too cautious or if I should trust what I feel. My heart races when I think about failure, but there's also a flicker of hope. What if I choose to trust my thoughts and look for a better option? As I sit there, I realize I'm on the edge of something important. It's more than just a deal, it's about learning how to think strategically and trust myself in tough situations. A shift in my mindset might be exactly what I need to escape this bad deal and find the success I crave. And it all starts today. As I sat at my desk, I reached for my notebook, ready to sketch out a plan to change my approach. I wanted to focus and think clearly. But as soon as I opened it, distractions flooded my mind like a storm. My phone buzzed with notifications, my coworker Sarah laughed in the next cubicle, and I found it hard to concentrate on just one thing. It felt as if the world was pulling me in all directions, and my thoughts were tangled in a mess. My attempts to dive deep into focused work only left me feeling more frustrated. Sometimes, I would try clearing my desk and putting on my headphones to block out the noise. I painted a brave picture of myself as someone who could handle everything. But within minutes, my mind would drift to worries about my job. Was I making the right decision? What if I messed up the deal everyone else wanted to close? The whispers of doubt wrapped around me tightly, squeezing my confidence. I noticed I kept falling back into the same bad habits, scrolling social media, checking emails, and avoiding the hard questions that scared me. As those old habits took hold, I felt lost. It was like being stuck in quicksand where all my efforts to escape only made me sink deeper. I started questioning whether I was cut out for this. Maybe I wasn't meant to be a leader or a decision maker. These thoughts haunted my mornings, making it hard to get out of bed and face the day. But I could not ignore an ache inside me, a desire to rise above my doubts and fears. One afternoon, when I found myself feeling particularly down, I decided to take a break. I wandered to the company library, a small room tucked away, filled with shelves of old books. I longed for something to inspire me. That's when a bright red book caught my eye. The title was, Think Clearly, A Guide to Smart Decisions. I picked it up and flipped through the pages, each section inviting me to see things differently. As I read, the words began to spark a small shift within me. The author emphasized the importance of understanding our minds and learning to trust our instincts. The book shared stories of people who faced difficulty but persevered when they learned how to think strategically. It reminded me that challenges are part of the journey, not the end of it. It felt like a light flickered in the darkness, leading me toward a way out. After finishing a few chapters, I closed the book and put it back on the shelf. I could feel a new sense of determination awakening. Although I was still scared, I needed to press on, to experiment and find what worked for me. I would start taking small steps instead of getting lost in a big picture. A simple goal emerged: I would aim for 30 minutes of focused work without distractions each day. Little by little, learning to silence the noise in my head. I didn't want to give up, I wanted to push forward, even if success felt like a distant dream. I had the willingness to transform, and maybe this was just the beginning. The next morning, I approached my desk with a mix of excitement and nervousness. Inspired by the book, I had promised myself that today I would try something new. I set a timer for just 10 minutes, determined to focus solely on my work without letting distractions pull me away. I took a deep breath and opened my project file. Amazingly, I managed to stay focused the entire time. Those 10 minutes felt like a small victory. I scribbled down ideas and strategies that had been swirling around in my head, feeling a wave of accomplishment wash over me. But soon after, reality hit me again. As I moved on to the next task, a sense of pressure returned. I had a meeting scheduled with my boss to discuss the deal that was bothering me. During the meeting, my boss confidently backed the proposal, highlighting how important it was for the company. I could feel the tension rising inside me. Holding on to my newfound determination, I fought to keep my emotions in check. My heartbeat quickened as I prepared to voice my concerns. When it was my turn to speak, a flicker of doubt crossed my mind. Were my feelings valid? Would I be able to express them clearly? But I reminded myself of what I had learned. Sometimes, making strategic decisions means standing up for what you believe is right. Summoning courage, I spoke up, sharing my thoughts about the potential risks of the deal. The room went silent. I could feel all eyes on me, and doubt stirred once more. To my surprise, my boss listened intently. He asked questions and appeared thoughtful. That moment felt like a breakthrough. I had made my voice heard. Even though I only expressed a portion of my concerns, it was a start. I left the meeting feeling lighter, a small victory tucked under my belt. Still, I knew I was only scratching the surface. The next few days were a roller coaster of emotions. I tried sticking to my 10-minute focus sessions, but some days were harder than others. There were moments when my phone buzzed or colleagues chatted nearby, pulling my attention away. Frequently, I would find myself drifting into old patterns, browsing social media instead of working. It was frustrating. After each slip-up, I would think, am I ever going to get it right? One afternoon, feeling particularly weary, I revisited a chapter from the book about accepting setbacks. It emphasized that every success takes time and practice. Suddenly, the pressure to be perfect melted away just a bit. I realized I could embrace my small wins rather than clinging to the setbacks that highlighted my struggles. With renewed energy, I tackled my day with a fresh perspective. I resized my goal, aiming for a more manageable 5-minute focused session instead. Each time I completed it, I celebrated those tiny moments. I would cheer myself on in small ways, maybe a little dance, a smile, or treating myself to a favorite snack. Gradually, these small efforts began to stack up, and I started to notice my confidence growing, even among challenges. Although I wasn't exactly where I wanted to be, those small victories told me I was on the right path. They were signals of progress, nudging me to push forward even more. It was clear, I had taken steps toward becoming the person I envisioned, one small win at a time. A few weeks passed, and I was still feeling good about my small victories. I had begun to find my footing and had more moments of clarity in my work. Just when I started to believe in my abilities, a new challenge threw me into a whirlwind of doubt. My boss called an emergency team meeting to discuss a critical project involving a potential client. The stakes were high, and everyone seemed on edge. As I entered the room, I could feel anxiety creeping back into my mind like a cold shadow. During the meeting, my boss suddenly turned to me. "Jake, I want you to lead the presentation to the client," he said, his voice steady and sharp. My heart sank. I felt a wave of panic wash over me. My mind raced, telling me I wasn't ready for this. Just as I was feeling a bit confident, here was an obstacle that pushed me to the edge of my limits. I had spent so much time worrying about my previous decision that now I could barely think straight. Every doubt I had struggled with before resurfaced. I remembered the countless times I had hesitated to speak up, the times I had felt inadequate in front of my boss and colleagues. Suddenly, it felt like those old feelings were wrapping around me tighter. What if I messed up? What if the client asked questions I couldn't answer? The fear made my palms sweat and my throat tighten. I stood there, feeling the pressure of everyone watching me. They were counting on me to know what to say and how to present, but inside, I felt lost. Several ideas bubbled in my mind, but fear made me forget them. My heart raced, and a voice in my head told me I would fail. I wanted to escape the room, but I knew that wouldn't solve anything. As I prepared for that presentation, I recalled all the progress I had made lately. I had a few days to get ready, but each night I found myself staring at my slides, paralyzed by doubt. Thoughts clawed at me late into the night. What if I couldn't hold the room's attention? What if the client criticized my approach or questioned my knowledge? The fear of failure felt like an anchor, and every moment I spent prepared only seemed to pull me deeper into despair. It was as if my old self was fighting to take control again, chipping away at my newfound confidence. On the morning of the presentation, I felt both sick and restless, as if I hadn't slept at all. My stomach churned with nerves, and every step I took felt heavy. In the meeting room, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. I looked around at my teammates who offered quiet encouragement, but I felt disconnected. When the client entered, I saw their faces watching me closely, and I felt my heart plummet. I had done everything to prepare, but now my mind blanked, filled instead with fear and anxiety. Would I cling to my self-doubt, or would I find a way through, even now? As the client settled in, waiting for me to begin, I felt the weight of the moment press down on me. It was the climax of my journey, the moment where all my hard work was about to be tested. Doubts raged as my heart pounded louder. This was my chance, but would I rise to meet the challenge or let my fear pull me back into the shadows? As the client settled into their seat, a wave of nausea washed over me. My hands trembled slightly, and beads of sweat formed on my forehead. I flipped through my slides, but each image blurred before my eyes. My breath came in short gasps, and all the preparation and practice faded from my memory. Somewhere inside me, the urge to flee surged. I wanted to turn around and walk out of the room forever, retreating to the safety of my earlier life where I didn't have to face stress and expectations. Right before I was about to speak, the anxious silence loomed over me like a heavy cloud. The client's gaze pinned me in place, and all my old doubts flooded back. I remembered every time I had second-guessed myself and every little comment that had made me feel less than capable. I felt small, adrift in a sea of uncertainty, teetering on the edge of handing in my resignation and giving up on this journey. Perhaps I wasn't cut out for this. Perhaps I was just pretending to be someone I would never be, but just as my confidence plummeted to its lowest point, a memory surged to the surface like a lifeline. I thought of my father, who had faced many struggles in his own life. I remembered the stories he often shared, tales of persistence and overcoming obstacles even when everything seemed against him. He had taught me that growth doesn't happen overnight but occurs through small, continual efforts, often through moments of difficulty. Somehow, I managed to hear his voice in my head, reminding me, "You can rise above your fears, Jake. You have it in you." Just then, something changed. I took a deep breath, inhaling deeply and grounding myself. The air felt cool in my lungs and began to calm the storm inside me. That tiny shift sparked a flicker of realization. I remembered all the small wins I had achieved, my first focused moments, my courage in speaking during the team meeting, my ability to stand up for what I believed in. Each of those moments had formed a bridge across my self-doubt, leading me to this point. This wasn't just about giving a presentation, it was about showing up for myself and embracing my growth, even in the face of fear. With this newfound insight, the edges of my uncertainty began to dull. I thought about the people in my life who believed in me, the team who genuinely wanted me to succeed. I could no longer let the pressure of the situation imprison me. Instead, I began to see the opportunity to allow my growth to continue, even in the churning tides of fear. As I stood before them, I could feel my legs steadying. I reminded myself that the best insights come from pushing through difficulties. The calling inside me to share my ideas and strategies with the client became stronger than the doubts. I straightened my posture, rehearsing the core thoughts I wanted to convey. Just moments before I started to speak, I scanned the room once more. Instead of fixating on their critical expressions, I focused on the opportunity to share something important with them. If they could hear my honest thoughts, I knew they might appreciate my perspective. With a gentle resolve forming inside me, I opened my mouth to begin, fully aware that this moment could define not just the project, but also my personal journey of growth. It was time to transform that fear into power. This was the moment I had been preparing for, and I was determined to show up and embrace it. With my heart steadying and a fire igniting within me, I took a deep breath and stepped forward to speak. As I looked at the client, I focused on the task ahead instead of the fear flooding my mind. I began by clearly introducing myself and sharing the goals of the project. Each word I chose emerged from a place of conviction, embodying everything I had learned during my journey to this point. Even as I spoke, doubts and worries slid sneakily into my mind. What if they questioned my ideas? Would I forget any key points? But with each passing moment, I reminded myself to stay grounded, channeling the confidence I had built. Despite the nerves still fluttering inside, I pushed forward, gripping the edges of the podium as I moved deeper into the presentation. I presented our proposed strategy with careful detail. I explained how we could leverage our resources and the unique strengths we had, all while addressing potential challenges we might face along the way. It was a game of strategy, and I wanted to showcase not just the product we were selling but also the thought process behind it. After discussing the benefits, I opened the floor for questions, knowing this was both a crucial test and an opportunity. Almost instantly, the client responded with a tough question about potential pitfalls in our approach. My heart raced, but instead of crumbling, I remembered my father's words about resilience. I took a brief moment to collect my thoughts and then addressed the concern directly. I acknowledged their points but also highlighted our proactive plans to tackle those issues. I gave detailed examples from our previous experiences, framing them as lessons learned from past challenges. The sigh of relief I felt in expressing my honesty and strategic thinking washed over me like a warm wave. As the questions continued, I leaned into the struggle without losing my focus. Each new wave of concerns tested my mental strength. However, I began to feel the shift within myself as I engaged in a real discussion. The energy in the room shifted, and the dialogue transformed from a simple presentation to a meaningful conversation. We were working together toward the common goal, and I felt their respect growing as I stood my ground. This wasn't easy. I felt the weight of their expectations throughout the conversation, and doubts still lurked. Yet with every question I answered, my confidence built a little more. I took pride in sharing my insights and showcasing what our team could achieve. As we neared the end of our meeting, I felt a pang of something I hadn't expected to feel: gratitude. I was thankful for this challenge that forced me to dig deep, confront my fears, and demonstrate growth through effort. Finally, I concluded my presentation with enthusiasm and clarity. I asked if they had any more questions and listened intently. The client responded with unexpected praise for my perspectives and even noted how proactive my ideas were compared to other proposals they had received. Hearing their approval filled me with relief and pride. Somehow, I had steered through not just the presentation but a pivotal moment in my personal journey. After a long period of struggle and determination, I sensed that I had transformed. Through resilience, deep focus, and strategic thinking, I fought against the doubts that had once overshadowed me. This was more than just completing a project, it was a significant turning point, marking growth in ways that felt profound. As I walked out of the meeting room, a mix of relief and exhilaration washed over me. The atmosphere felt lighter, almost buoyant, as if something profound had shifted within me. I could hardly believe the presentation had gone so well. The client had responded positively, expressing interest in our strategy and asking for follow-up information. Even if the deal wasn't sealed yet, my heart brimmed with a sense of accomplishment that I hadn't felt in a long time. Back at my desk, I took a moment to breathe deeply, trying to process everything that had happened. There were so many emotions swirling inside me. I could still remember how shaky I had felt standing at the podium, the weight of my doubts pressing down on me like a heavy cloak. But in that difficult moment, I had chosen to rise, to push beyond my fears and engage authentically with the client. That choice was something I would carry with me beyond the meeting room. Reflecting on my journey revealed just how far I had come. I remembered my days of feeling defeated by minor setbacks, getting lost in self-doubt, and being afraid to share my thoughts. But those small victories that had built my confidence began to take on new meaning. the experience of pushing through fear had shown me the power of resilience. I had transformed my mindset in ways I hadn't thought were possible, and I began to appreciate that growth can often emerge from struggle. In these quiet moments after the meeting, I understood what my father meant when he spoke of endurance and determination. Life would not always offer smooth paths, nor would every challenge result in immediate victories. But the sense of mental toughness I had developed was a treasure that would stay with me on my journey. I found that instead of defining my worth through outcomes, I could now measure my growth by how I tackled pressure and faced adversity head-on. Every time I felt well prepared, addressed intelligent questions, and shared ideas, those were layers I added to my evolving professional identity. This had been more than just a presentation, it was a testament to my evolving mindset and willingness to learn. In the coming days, I couldn't help but notice the change in my daily routine. I approached each work task with newfound focus, applying the strategies I had practiced when preparing for the meeting. I found myself feeling more reassured when faced with challenging projects, and rather than shying away from difficult conversations, I engaged in thoughtful discussions, confident in my ability to contribute valuable ideas. Sharing my experiences with colleagues became a form of reflection in itself. I realized that every struggle carried potential lessons if I was willing to explore them. Talking about my process encouraged others to share their fears, too, and we bonded over mutual struggles. I learned that each of us has a unique journey, but recognizing our challenges helps pave the way for growth together. Now, as I sat at my desk with excitement for future challenges ahead, I embraced the lessons from the meeting. I was equipped not just with skills, but with the profound understanding that true resilience is born from embracing uncertainty. This moment marked the start of something new, and I eagerly anticipated how I would continue to grow in the days to come. As the days turned into weeks, I began to notice how my newfound mental strength seeped into every part of my daily life. The lingering shadows of self-doubt that had previously clouded my mind seemed to lift, unveiling a clearer path ahead. Each morning, I would sit at my desk with purpose, ready to tackle the day instead of dreading unknown challenges. I started incorporating focused work sessions into my routine without difficulty. The time I spent drowning in distractions shrank. I found ways to block distractions effectively, putting my phone away and using simple techniques like blocking social media websites during work hours. Keeping my workspace tidy had become a small habit, but its impact was profound. My environment felt more peaceful, enabling me to think and create without drowning in chaos. Whenever doubts threatened to creep in during challenging tasks, I could feel my resilience respond. Instead of spiraling into negative thoughts, I would pause to take a deep breath and remind myself of how far I had come. I began to view these moments of uncertainty as opportunities for growth rather than reasons to shrink back. For instance, in team meetings where complex problems arose, would pitch in with confidence, sharing my ideas freely and engaging with others positively. I noticed that my colleagues took note of my change as well. They began to engage with me differently, seeking my opinion during discussions and valuing my perspective. Sarah, who sat next to me, often asked for my insights before meetings, remarking, "You always seem to have a thoughtful approach, Jake." In those moments, I were reminded how there was power in being brave enough to share my thoughts. The validation felt good, reinforcing the new habits I had cultivated. Even when faced with tighter deadlines or demanding projects, I could navigate challenges with a bulletproof mindset. There was stress, of course, like when a client requested changes at the last minute. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, I would take things step by step, breaking tasks into manageable pieces and tackling one item at a time. I understood that pressure is simply part of the process and that how I responded to it mattered most. After work, the changes extended to my personal life as well. I grabbed opportunities to volunteer at community events with a sense of excitement, participating in activities I had once hesitated to take part in due to fear of failure. Talking with new people no longer felt intimidating, rather, I could initiate conversations freely and share my experiences confidently. At home, conversation flowed more organically with my family too. When discussing plans or decisions, I was willing to express my thoughts clearly, knowing I could present my ideas firmly without second-guessing myself. I felt more connected with loved ones, realizing that my growth was contributing to stronger relationships as well. As I continued to embrace my journey of growth, I couldn't help but reflect on how this transformation was about building a foundation of mental resilience and self-acceptance. I tidied every word I spoke, crafting messages that kept vulnerability at bay but also fostered connections with others. With each passing day, I felt as though I was embracing a newer, stronger version of myself. The world around me seemed to expand, offering paths I hadn't noticed before. Challenge no longer felt like an obstacle, it had morphed into a chance for me to learn, adapt, and thrive. I was ready to meet whatever came my way, bolstered by the mental fortitude I had cultivated through every struggle and triumph on this incredible journey. Looking back on the past few months, I couldn't help but smile at the changes I had experienced within myself. The journey I had taken from uncertainty to confidence was nothing short of remarkable. When I think about where I had started, I see a person who was often overwhelmed. I felt lost in self-doubt, struggling to ask questions or voice concerns, terrified of judgment. Now, I had transformed into someone who embraced challenges head-on and believed in the power of my voice. After that pivotal presentation, I received consistent feedback that boosted my confidence even more. The client decided to move forward with our proposal based on the input I provided. It felt surreal to witness that my hard work and determination paid off. Celebrating this success with my team became an affirmation of everything I had learned, reminding me that collaboration often yields greater strengths. In meetings, I now find myself sharing ideas willingly, confident my voice matters. I no longer approach tough situations with a sense of dread, instead, I see them as chances to learn more about myself and the world around me. Each time I participated, I felt a renewed spark within me, pushing back any self-doubt that dared to creep in. My colleagues also began to reflect this change. I formed stronger connections with them, fostering a team where ideas could flow freely, unbound by fear or insecurity. One evening, while working late, I sat at my desk, reviewing past notes from my journey. I flipped through pages filled with thoughts and lessons. One stuck with me: growth takes time, but each step matters. That message resonated deeply, becoming a mantra that guided my choices daily. When the pressure of deadlines loomed, reminding me of the intense moments from earlier, I focused on the progress I had made instead of dreading potential outcomes. As I committed to this mindset, I recognized that growth doesn't stop here. The strength I had built gives me a compelling sense of optimism. I am more prepared for future challenges, armed with the lessons from this experience. As I gaze into the future, I can see potential new projects and ideas waiting to be explored. Life will undoubtedly bring its share of uncertainties, but for the first time, I welcome them instead of shying away. Even more, I value connections with my colleagues and mentors. The importance of open communication has become crystal clear to me. I now strive to create an environment that fosters honest dialogue and encourages collaboration. My newfound confidence is not just a personal victory, it has transformed how I view teamwork and relationships in the workplace. With each passing day, I embrace the belief that resilience can shape not only my thoughts but also my actions. Challenges will evolve and surprise me, and while I'll face obstacles ahead, I now understand that each struggle is an opportunity to learn and grow even stronger. In essence, I'm excited about the future that lies ahead. I know now that I can face whatever comes my way with courage and determination. I am no longer the timid person who hesitated. Instead, I am a dynamic, adaptive individual ready to embark on new adventures and forge lasting connections. As I take these steps forward, I find comfort in knowing I can draw upon my experiences, and I can't wait to see where this journey leads me next.